All right, let's settle a supposed rock and roll mystery that's had some Beatles fans debating for decades. Who the hell screamed, "I've got blisters on my fingers" at the end of Helter Skelter? You know, it was a bit of a playful thing, but it turns out it was actually also a little bit serious. Some swear it was John Lennon, with his gritty voice, always shouting something wild. Others, they say it had to be Ringo Starr. I mean, drummers, blisters, it adds up, right? And you know what? It was confirmed in interviews by Ringo Starr himself that yes, it was him, Ringo Starr, who shouted that. Some think it was Paul, even. They thought he was worn out, half laughing, half dying after a chaotic, pounding take of one of the loudest songs the Beatles ever recorded. Helter Skelter even has that pretty kick ass riff, actually, sort of an underrated riff. And it was actually, a pretty heavy song, especially for a Beatles song. So, where'd the confusion come from? Why do people sometimes think it's not Ringo? Well, Ringo, you know, he had a reputation. He, despite being called, a not great drummer, despite being dismissed, he nevertheless might have literally bloodied his hands during, some epic drum sessions. Like, apparently, Helter Skelter had 18 takes. And sure, that Ross shout sounds like John, especially if you're used to his sharper vocal tone, but it's Ringo. Some just want it to be Paul for whatever reason too. The band had just finished tearing through another brutal take. I guess take number 18. Ringo smashing the drums, the amps screaming, chaos everywhere. And Ringo in that moment just lets it slip. "I've got blisters on my fingers." Totally spontaneous, not planned, not staged, just pure exhaustion and attitude. And they left it in because it fit. It matched the energy of the track, wild, raw, unfiltered. It was the Beatles saying, "Yeah, we can rock hard and we don't care what you think." The song itself is something gritty and distorted. It's definitely one of the classic rock songs of that era. And, in the popular imagination, it might have been what finally drove Charlie Manson crazy. The whole Helter Skelter story. One of these days, maybe I could make an episode about that specifically, but today we're just talking about the Scream. So, next time someone brings it up at a party or on Reddit or somewhere else, you can drop the facts on them. It wasn't John, it wasn't McCartney, it was Ringo, plain and simple. He was letting loose after melting his own brain in the studio. That scream was the sound of a band putting itself to the edge. Or do you think Ringo was just lying about it in that interview that I watched just before, committing to this episode here? Do you think Ringo was just lying his head off and it was actually somebody else? I suppose if you want to plead your case, go ahead and let me know what your opinion is. But to be honest, I think this is a case closed sort of story. And, I guess that's all I have to say about it. So have a good day.